Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Hero Podcast 64. Special shout out to New Zealand, wherever the fuck that country may be. And of course, my name is Ryan G from the Netherlands, owner of Aligned Data Strategy. And of course, my co-host, the real Pete Kirkwood, a success coach and an empire builder, I believe. And under the context of, Halloween, Saturday, Saturday, down dress, take it easy, have fun. Besides, in a few hours, you'll be partying. So I'm getting prepared for that. But on today's topic, mostly inspired by the creator of judo, I believe, yesterday. Today's topic has a lot to do with standing on the shoulders of giants. So, Pete Kirkwood, your screen is frozen for some reason.
What has happened to my internet?
Ah, yes, the typical technical stuff. But on that note, Pete, could you tell me more about that, or do you need some help with the camera? Ah, you're back. You got fantastic, fantastic. Could you unmute yourself, brother?
Yeah, well, that was I don't know what happened there. The internet just crapped out. It was fine before we started, and as soon as we kicked off, I heard the introduction, and then things fell apart. So
It was
as you were
waiting.
saying, what was the I guess you were talking about the topic for this week.
Of course, the topic of the week. Standing on the shoulders of giants.
Standing on the shoulders of giants. And I think that is a really cool topic. And it's funny that it's almost like there are no coincidences. But I find myself staring at myself in the camera. And I'm just wearing a crisp white shirt with a simple pair of beads. And where I was sitting, I couldn't see my hair because it was blended into the shadows, and I could see the beard, and I could see the resemblance to Arash with how he so often run a look like that. And I never had a beard before I knew Arash. I never rocked around white shirts like this before I knew Arash. Like, it wasn't a color I wore, and it wasn't a style, the simplicity either. Like, I always wore something that said money. Right? I always had. And you learn these things from your mentors as you go along, and you are standing on the shoulders of giants, but it really shows even the finest details that come through, because my image, my style, my posture, my physicality, so many things that have changed about me, that I've picked up a beingness of, let's say, style from Arash in this outfit, roughly here. Let's take that for example. And I've formatted it into my version, right? I haven't got the same kind of beard that he did, right? Obviously, I've got a different haircut. And he was never wearing a Moldavite necklace. That's me. But it's still a reflection of where I've found that value, that growth, that knowledge, that wisdom, that power by standing on the shoulders of that giant. And I think it's well worth mentioning. Like, Arash is very vocal about how all of his mentors are. He's got an entire wall with the 7 photos all right there. I think it might be more than 7 now. And he frequently talks about standing on the shoulders of giants, which is a fantastic reference, because I was blown away when I found out that I was taller than Arash when I met him. He comes across as such a huge character. When I met him and he was shorter than me, I was like, wow. But make no doubt about it, he is that giant. You know where I'm coming from, right?
I understand. That's a great reference, by the way.
In the beingness, well, that's the thing, is that it comes through in the way that you're looking to take advice from someone you know, and you respect the results that they have achieved with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is one of the interesting things, because it's very easy for me to point to my mentors and say, look what they've done. People often don't ask me. People often don't sort of want to hear the story. Yeah, no, but what about you? Yeah, no, it's not who you... No, you need to know who I learned it from, right? Because I haven't gone out and set off a nuclear weapon to prove that I know nuclear science, but I studied from the guy who set off that one. So there's your proof. But people go, oh, no, but you haven't set off a nuclear weapon. Well, hang on. Don't miss who I'm studying from, who I'm learning from. And over time, a lot of people, oh, well, you're not AZD. People have said to me, oh, well, you're not your dad, right? I learned a lot from my dad from business. I learned a lot from AZD in many aspects, many aspects. Language, communication, literally the code of how life works. And I had a lot of pieces, but it's fantastic when you have someone help you put them together like that. And as I keep adding to that picture, that puzzle, and I keep taking these things from these mentors, you start getting really comfortable in that position, standing on those shoulders. Because when you first do it, it's not easy, right? When you first start leveraging off somebody else, you're not comfortable in it, all that kind of stuff, all that feelingness and thing, and whatever you've got to go through, limiting beliefs in your head to take someone else's something and use it, right? I mean, if it's grandma's famous apple pie, well, when did grandma get the recipe? Did she invent it herself, or did she get it from someone else and it's technically someone else's apple pie? So if it's someone else's apple pie that grandma is now called her grandma's, when does it become yours for everybody? How many times do you have to cook it? 100? 1,000? Is it when grandma passes away? Or is it when grandma passes away, it has to be called grandma's? Like, what are all these rules to passing on, to standing on the shoulders of giants? And it's a really so up to the individual how you do it, that it really comes through. Because I don't go around talking about my fashion sense that I picked up in the way that I present myself from Arash, right? Like this kind of stuff, and how important it is that I learned it. Like, I have walked into venues and had someone go, bro, I really like those beads. And I went, right. That's an interesting observation. Most people don't pick up on something like that. And straight away, that person was like, whoa. And I was in. And before long, I think I was wearing people's clothes, costumes. I was being given free drinks. One female dedicatedly got my contact details. I'm sure I know you from somewhere, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, oh, and we're off. Because we literally stopped in to say hello with a bunch of people I was with. And then they just caught up with whoever they needed to and sorted their shit out. And I was like, well, I've got 5 minutes in a room full of people I don't know. These that kicked it off, because I stood there while they were playing a game of beer pong, and I just stood there next to the dude and sort of, bit of casual chit chat, like that nothing conversation. But as soon as he had something like this to cling on to, I could, well, obviously you're a bit sharper than the average person, brother. Not many people pick up on the fact that I'm wearing something like this. And then it becomes, what it becomes. I don't even talk about every single thing about wearing something like this on a podcast. I don't share that kind of shit publicly. You actually have to have the balls to ask me something about my life for me to really give you some power and knowledge. I can talk in circles all day on a podcast and give you some decent, good value. Something that you'll really enjoy. All right? I've got plenty of giants of shoulders to stand on of wisdom. I mean, even just standing on my father who stands on his father. My granddad, he was really fucking somebody. His funeral filled an entire church, the entire church of his hometown, and that he'd built and owned large sections of. He was one of the people responsible for the damn hospital in the place. And then they had to fill another hall and get cameras to film it and transmit it because there were just too many people. And I love that I got to speak at his funeral to honor that man on behalf of all the grandchildren as the oldest grandchild. And it really makes me comfortable in that position, standing on my granddad's shoulders, right? Anything that he has done, I will 100% give credit to him, but I'm 100% ready to claim, and there's no worry. And I know that he would just want the best for me from that position. And I can feel that. He really exemplified that giant who came to the end of his life and eventually passed away from practically natural causes, right? His body just wore out on him at the end. And it was like a simple as cough that got him. But he was already on the way. And we were all like, okay, 90-ish. I think it was 89. I can't recall exactly. But that is something that we should all want, is to be proud of who we've learned from, who we've grown from, to have someone behind us we can point to and go, you know who fucking such and such is? Yeah. Well, if you need to know what a nuclear weapon looks like, I'm not going to set one off, but he taught me how to make them, right? Because I don't want to demonstrate stealing somebody's fucking girlfriend to prove how good I am to every fucking chump that needs to ask how good I am. Right? I don't want to do that everything. Can I? Yes. Yes, I can. And the funny thing is, I have a feeling I know a few people who might be watching this podcast at this moment thinking, yeah, but it didn't work out the way you think it did. No. Wrong girl. Fucking thinking of a different one. Because it's like I said, it's something I can do. Doesn't mean I do it every week, but doesn't mean I've never done it more than once in my fucking life. Because that's a skill I learned from my mentor. 100% learn that from Arash. I've stolen women by accident, but learning how to do what I was doing and calculate it, that I had to learn from Arash. And I can freely admit that, right? Like the science behind what I was already sort of semi-capable of, and making it something that was at my disposal, not perhaps could happen. Because the other thing is, you don't want to accidentally steal someone's girl either, right? That's bad. That's bad.
Well, that is foolish. If you're doing it accidentally,
Oh. Can you imagine? Imagine being that guy where there's almost like two kinds. I can picture the guy who he just can't help it. Everyone it's like, no, stop it, stop falling in love with me. Fuck off. I'm trying to just have mates and you keep ruining it by fucking.
It's like a reverse Johnny Bravo, where he's delivering that client, but he's still getting.
Right? It's like Cupid, right? Like people just crazed. Rasputin, you think of some of these famous names through history that had just powers that were apparently legendary. Aleister Crowley in the right circle, right? And existence, life is made up time and time and time and time again of giants on giants on giants that we've stood on the shoulders of. You've recounted quite a few stories of even how your father helped you with martial arts and like gave you somewhere to stand.
Well, funny you should say that, because without my dad's training, without him hiring some mentors who were from the military, the practical side of martial arts, without them, I would have had a very bad foundation in my general martial arts, even. And it's because of them that I managed to, admire, appreciate, and love myself even more.
Yep.
And
That's damn important.
And it's that key piece that I just kept seeing that was either missing in the character of my friends, the girls I have fun with, etc. I keep seeing that same pattern, and isn't it funny? That's become a quote in a lot of the times, that without mentors, right? They don't specialize, especially in the building of character, that we're missing a lot of ethics in, let's say, academics, or let's say martial arts. Let's take academics, for example. You were talking about, grandma's cookies or grandma's tarts or grandma's pie or whatever. In academics, you always have the idea of referencing who you got it from. Now, exactly, like, it's a very simple way to do it. It's very structured, very standardized, but I cannot expect people to do that in, let's say, normal society, because it's
Correct.
too much work, it's too much headache. But what I do expect is, let's say, if I ever have students that follow me into a very deeper level, it is not that I want you to reference me, it is that I want you to play a good character, play someone that's ethical, play someone that is good of character, play someone that is good at being a man or good at being a woman or good at their job. Like,
Yes.
there is a primal pride that I have when I have a good day at the work. Not a quiet day, but there was some bullshit going on and I was the one to fix it. And it gives me like, yeah, you know who fixed this. You know who fixed this. That's me. And it's this.
Yep.
And speaking of references, it's this old gene, let's say, that every human has, where the moment he gives value, like proper significant value to his tribe, to his group, to his team, that's a different form of salary. There's a different
Correct.
form of reward. There's a different form of, oh, not only did I give value, I now feel better about me. We from ACD, one of the things that I really took was, it doesn't matter what happens throughout the day. Stack small wins. And
that's a good one.
Seek to feel good no matter what. Of course, bullshit will happen, For instance, the IT systems are down, the camera doesn't fucking work, your wife cheats on you. What if
there's lag at the beginning of your podcast?
Lag at the beginning of the podcast. I'm roasting you on the side.
Your
Making fun of
co-host
you.
interrupts you.
Yeah, exactly. The co-host is too tired to talk, blah, blah, blah. The coffee machine doesn't work, etc., etc. But that doesn't mean it has to be a problem, which is something we learned last month. And this is something I've been applying religiously. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean I have to take it personal. Doesn't mean I have to take it to the point where I actively suffer because of it. I may disagree with it. I may dislike it, as long as it's not a problem. And it's these sort of principles that we've learned from mentors like ACD. It's these sort of principles that have been passed on by people. And we're using this as, current students and future mentors. We are right now being mentors, but at some point we'll become even bigger and people will maybe call upon our names like, the real Pete Kirkwood, RPK. Like that becomes a saying. I can imagine the real Pete Kirkwood becoming Russell Brand at some point, but from New Zealand.
Well, that's the thing, is that I want to bring it back to standing on the shoulders of giants, because if anyone listening to this is thinking about that, like famous people, and as soon as you hear the name Russell Brand, we all have an idea who we're talking about, right? Probably all of us. Maybe someone doesn't. Go look him up. He's actually started to say some intelligent things in later years, which is funny.
Yeah.
But I can see that he plays the Joker character quite well, the jester. The thing I'm very careful about managing my public level of appearance, because I know I could play on the world stage and I could be a household name. I know I could do that. I could live that life very easily.
Right.
But I don't know if I want to live that life, because I know what that entails and what that comes with. And I don't know if I want to be that famous. So I haven't yet decided to do that. But by the same token, just because you're standing on the shoulders of giants doesn't mean you have to be doing it in front of the whole world. I want everyone who listens to this podcast to be able to stand on the shoulders of giants. And one of the best ways to do that, as soon as you start giving value back to those giants, you'll notice more shoulders become available to stand on. And
that makes sense, yeah.
I see how that has really worked for myself. But when you get practiced and good at this, there's this thing called edification. It's really hard to do. It's funny. It's actually really easy, but it's really hard to do because we're so trained to tear people apart that when you start talking good about people and you start doing it in the right way, you can actually stand on the shoulders of your mates and make them a giant. And they can stand on your shoulder and make you a giant. And you can stand on each other's shoulder at the same time and make each other into giants.
Right.
So the way that you carry that respect, when you make it a part of yourself, the characteristic of standing on the shoulders of giants can become a part of who you are. And it becomes a part of your beingness. And that I'm mentored by the greats is a beingness. It's not just like something that someone can say. And we forget that these things, right? Because I'm not well educated, or I'm only formally educated, or I'm only university educated, are all things we can say too. And now only university educated is definitely a phrase I would say. I'd say someone's only university educated. Like and to be fair, the way in the modern world is, unless that degree is engineering or specific parts of medicine, I'm going to take someone who grew up on the streets dealing drugs over you for my end of the world posse. Like, all of a sudden, your university degree ain't so valuable.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've got a university degree in media studies and relations. Fantastic. Have fun. Good luck. Go away. Don't care. I'm not saying you can't go and learn something valuable, right? I'm not saying there isn't value at university. Law is certainly a field that it's very tricky. It's like a tar pit, but there's a lot of value. There's diamonds in those tar pits. Medicine, I would say, has become the same. Engineering, yeah, well, engineering, less tar pits, definitely some value, but you don't necessarily need to go to university to learn these things. And if you create the habit of feeding yourself knowledge and teaching yourself and making learning part of your practice, your daily routine, right? You know, like you might have seen a couple of videos of me smashing the drums and shit lately. I've never played instruments, but I've started like, look, I know it's good. I know it's good to play music, and I'm not good at it, but it's okay because with a bit of practice, I've actually become really good at the basics. Fucking mind-blowing. Amazing. Like, imagine that. I'm a human being. I practiced the basics a fair bit and I got good at something that's kind of simple because I practiced it a fair bit. Gee, that sounds like something that anyone could do. But we hesitate from learning because we're afraid to fail. You know, if you're standing on the shoulders of giants, it feels like there's a long way to fall. There isn't, though, because we live in an age where YouTube, you know, or fucking use BitChute, use Rumble, don't fucking support YouTube. Fuck them, they sense too much good shit. But my point is, you can use a search engine. Fuck Google, they sense too much shit too. And you can go and teach yourself. You can go and find the memory of a giant encoded out there for you to stand on. The knowledge, the power, what's available to us in this modern day and age is just, oh, fuck, it's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It really is. There's something healing about music, eh? Like, I don't even know shit. But I can feel myself learning things that I haven't been teaching myself because my subconscious does a whole bunch of shit back here and I'm not in charge of it, right? And we think we're all so in charge of our lives, but really all you're in charge in, setting it up for the rest of your brain to do the work. Use the front of your brain to set it up, some good habits and shit, focus on that stuff, the back does all the work. And as we've been standing on the shoulders of Arash for long enough, we start stepping out and it's incredible what you can do.
That's a good point. It's not that we only take the lessons, but we apply the principles to our own personal lives. And in there, we learn the lessons. It was never just about learning principles. It's about applied knowledge, is applied power. Because
absolutely,
there's where we get the usefulness. If you just learn stuff and you don't apply it, who fucking cares? You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Man. Like, I think that's so true, you know? And it's like, it's almost like, why the hell would I learn how to steal someone's girl? I don't even want to know that until you come across someone who's a complete fucking, like, you're just like, oh, you don't deserve that one.
I can name several reasons why that might be a very good idea. To know how to do that.
To you know, why would I need to know how to?
Here's an interesting dilemma. What if stealing the girl would have been the most ethical choice? What if? And it's just a what if. Would it not be a shame if you didn't know how to do this? I mean, the whole point of being a hero, let's say in the social sense, would be, I know how to play the social dynamics to such a point that the parties are protected and I still get to do what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how the jester usually wins. He is such an asshole, but you can't help but love him.
Very much so. That is the jester, and the people who fail to play the jester, they're the asshole who people put up with.
Yeah, you don't want to be that.
No. You better make sure that people actually like you. I know a few people, because if you're the asshole that people just put up with until they don't have to take it anymore, that's the guy where it's ethical to take the job. And fuck knows who's watching this, but maybe it's not, maybe it's not about you, because like I said, it's more than one. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not like I've never stolen somebody's girl by accident, and it's not like I haven't ever stolen somebody's girl that wasn't 100% ethical either. Right? We all had to grow up and get to the point where we're at.
Well, all the old
What a
and wise
weird
were once young
podcast to end up
and
talking
foolish,
about,
right?
right? Like, what a weird podcast to end up talking about standing on the shoulders of giants, and we end up talking about stealing girls. But
Well, Casanova is the reference.
that's true. That's very, and Rasputin as well.
And Rasputin.
Like when I learned about the way that he, wow, absolutely incredible. And the interesting thing is though, that a lot of these references are relative, because I have another example. I know a guy called Ty, but you won't. Most people won't, because most people didn't grow up with him stealing all the girls in their social group, right? So he was the local giant whose shoulders I wanted to stand on. And that was all I wanted to do was think, and now here I am in life, like, far out. If anyone's watching this and is young and is, whatever, any point in life, man, time, practice, because now I talk to Ty and roles have switched. He's much more well-behaved in life, and I'm much more getting everything I want. So on that note, I think that's about it from me.
Indeed. We have the last 2 minutes. Well done. So the biggest takeaway for me would be, it was never just about the mentors. It was about applying the knowledge, and then applying the knowledge to improve your life, improve the lives of your loved ones, the tribe, your company, the actual company, the people you're in company with, because life is hard enough. Might as well share the knowledge. And who knows, maybe one day we will be seen as mentors. Maybe we will be respected as mentors. And one practicality that I want to start doing is actually find some canvases, put some pictures on those canvases and put it on my wall. That would be cool, so that I can remember. If a picture says 1,000 words, and a picture of the people that have meant a lot in my life, that has, through which I have built my life, they at least deserve that sort of tribute. What about you, Pete?
I think that's well said. And I think that, I have a lot of respect for Rush as my mentor. I always will. My father, my grandfather, my mother, and I think a lot of people, I hope that you can say similar things, that you can have your such close family members that you can look to as fantastic mentors. And, I could even say my stepmother is a fantastic example of what not to be in life. That's a good thing to learn from. So turn anyone around you into someone you can learn from, but just be able to recognize what's a giant and what's not, and don't hesitate to give some credit. I didn't build this village. Tom built this village. Josh built this village. Tyler built this village. All the other guys that have come before me helped build this village. There's more names than that, and the girls, right? Don't get it wrong. It's a community that builds something, right? It's a community that builds IMC. And there are many, many, many giants that walk within it and across this earth. And I think the world is going to change. I think the world is going to change big time, and being a giant and knowing some giants and sharing some shoulders will be a thing.
Of course. Of course. Well, see how we're out of time. We'll let it on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a Hero Podcast. My name is Ryan G from Aligned Data Strategy, with my co-host, the real Pete Kirkwood, your success coach, your empire builder, your kingmaker. This has been a very wonderful podcast. Thank you again, Pete. And wherever you may be, I wish you a very nice life. If you want to contact us, feel free to do so. And of course, whatever time it is, good morning, good evening, and of course, good night.